I've given you information about the massive growth of government, how it is devouring the private sector, how it is devouring your individual liberty, how it is unmoored from the Constitution, and how these people are not done. They're never done. But take this into consideration, too. At the end of 2008, the federal debt as a percentage of gross domestic product was 40%. In 2010, yes, this isn't a Meritopia. In 2010, it jumped to 60%. For 2011, it was 70%. And it now exceeds 100%. The federal debt exceeds 100% of gross domestic product. Our debt is bigger than all the value of our economy put together. And I'm not even counting unfunded liabilities through Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the like. And the president today is going to talk about even more ambitious schemes. Yes, perspective helped, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? $61.6 trillion, or $528,000 per household for the unfunded liabilities in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And as a result of the president's first 3 years in office, the deficit is going to grow by nearly $20 trillion over the next 10 years. And he's going to get up there and stare at you and tell you how he stands for the little guy. All we need to do is tax the rich some more. Just a fair deal. That's all. People work hard. They deserve a fair deal. While he is creating a monumental, catastrophic, unconscionable debt that is going to crush you and your children. Let me tell you about this administrative state, this massive government that's on steroids now under the Obama administration that affects each and every one of you and in every aspect of your lives. This administrative state, the bureaucracy, issues thousands of regulations every year, which have the force of law. The Competitive Enterprise Institute reported that the 2010 Federal Register, the official compendium of federal rules, totaled over 81,000 pages, a record high. Since 2001, 38,700 final regulations have been promulgated. In 2010 alone, 3,573 new rules were enacted by federal agencies. An evaluation by certain economists determined that the private sector regulatory compliance costs amounted to $1.75 trillion in 2008, absorbing almost 12% of the total gross domestic product of the nation. So that's 12% complying with regulations. They're taking 25% flat out. So 37% of the entire economy, almost 40%, is money that is seized by the federal government out of the private sector, or the private sector must expend to comply with federal mandates. And the president's going to talk about doing more. The Heritage Foundation found that the number of criminal offenses in the U.S. Code increased from 3,000 in the early 1980s to 4,000 by 2000 to over 4,450 by 2008. But the total number of criminal offenses issued by regulation by the bureaucracy is actually unknown even to the federal government, which establishes them. Listen to this, quote, "Scores of federal departments and agencies have created so many criminal offenses that the Congressional Research Service, the research arm of Congress, admitted that it was unable to even count all the criminal offenses. Their best estimate, quote, tens of thousands. So Congress's own experts don't have a clear understanding of the size and scope of federal criminalization through bureaucratic regulations. And they're going to tell us they represent the little guy. Really? The farmer, the builder, the painter, the plumber, the electrician, the miner? Are you kidding me? Even an abridged examination of the federal regulatory regime reveals the extent of its tentacles. You ready for this? I want you to look around your house. Inside your house, the federal government regulates washing machines, dryers, dishwashers, dishwasher detergents, microwave ovens, toilets, shower heads, heating and cooling systems. It regulates refrigerators, freezers, furnace fans and boilers, ceiling fans, dehumidifiers. The federal government regulates light bulbs, certain renovations, fitness equipment, clothing, baby cribs, pacifiers, rattles, and toys. It regulates marbles, latex balloons, matchbooks, bunk beds, mattresses, mattress pads. It regulates televisions, radios, cell phones, iPads, other digital media devices. The federal government regulates computer components, video recording devices, speakers, batteries, battery chargers, power supplies. It regulates stereo equipment, garage door openers, lawn mowers, lawn darts, pool slides, etc., etc., etc. The federal government also regulates toothpaste, deodorant, dentures, and most things in and around your medicine cabinet. I could do this same list for food packaging. As a matter of fact, let's take on food packaging. It regulates not just food, the federal government, but food labeling and packaging are subject to extensive federal regulation. New mandates require food labels, quote, to disclose net contents, identity of commodity, the name and place of business of the product's manufacturer, packer, or distributor. Labels must also include the presence of major food allergens. Certain terms like low sodium, reduced fat, and high fiber must meet strict governmental definitions. The federal government has defined other terms used for nutrition content, including low, reduced, high, free, lean, extra lean, good source, less, and light. If a food is described as organic, it must meet the federal government's definition of organic. The food industry will also face new federal rules for front-of-pack calorie and nutrition labels and federally recommended nutritional criteria for foods making, quote, dietary guidance statements. For example, quote, eat 2 cups of fruit a day for good health. Federal regulations also involve food contact materials, including cutlery, dishes, glasses, cups, food processors, containers, etc., etc., etc. How the hell did we survive as a people without this massive Leviathan? How did we survive as a people? I told you this program, this hour, would be much different than what I'm sure you've heard all day long, all year long, because I've decided to answer Obama's State of the Union speech before he gives it. So there's proper context for what's going on here. And I'm not done. I want you to remember when you watch this speech and you listen to this speech, as I write in Ameritopia, during the health care debate, Obama claimed that no matter how we reform health care, we will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. I'm quoting. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period. No one will take it away, no matter what, unquote. But McKinsey and Company's early 2011 survey of more than 1,300 employers across industries, geographies, and employer sizes, as well as other proprietary research, found that 30% of employers will definitely or probably stop offering health care in the years after 2014 once Obamacare has been fully implemented. Please keep that in mind when you hear him make his next promise tonight. Obama insisted that the, quote, underlying argument has to be addressed. That is people's concern that if we are reforming the health care system to make it more efficient, which I think we have to do, the concern is that somehow that will mean rationing of care, right? That somehow some government bureaucrat out there is saying, well, you can't have this test or you can't have this procedure because some bean counter decides that it's not a good way to use health care dollars. He went on. So I just want to be very clear about this, Obama said. You will have not only the care you need, but also the care that right now is being denied to you by insurance companies, only if we get health reform. But Professor Martin Feldstein pointed out at the time that although administration officials are eager to deny it, rationing health care is central to Obama's plan. The strategy is to reduce health costs by rationing the services that we and future generations of patients will receive. In fact, the White House Council of Economic Advisors issued a report in June explaining the Obama administration's goal of reducing projected health spending by 30% over the next 2 decades. That reduction would be achieved by eliminating so-called high-cost, low-value treatments, by implementing a set of performance measures that all providers would adopt, and by directly targeting individual providers and other high-end outliers, quote unquote. Obama argued that health care reform will also slow the growth of health care costs for our families, our businesses, and our government. He declared, I will not sign a plan that adds 1 dime to our deficit now or in the future, period. Well, Hewitt Associates and Mercer both reported that Obamacare was contributing to premium hikes. The Congressional Budget Office disclosed it will cost 800,000 jobs. It reported further that the program will likely cut $115 billion more than originally estimated. And the Secretary of Health and Human Services admitted that $500 billion in supposed savings resulted from double counting funds from the Medicare program. Oh, my. You going to trust more Obama promises? An analysis by Peter Ferrara, the Heartland Institute, also revealed that Obamacare establishes more than, quote, 150 new bureaucracies, agencies, boards, commissions, and programs that are empowered to tell doctors and hospitals what is quality health care and what is not, what are best practices in medicine, how their medical practices should be structured, and what they will be paid and when. The Congressional Research Service reported the precise number of new entities that will ultimately be created pursuant to Obamacare is currently unknowable. So oversight will be practically impossible, and the healthcare system, and particularly the individual patient, will be overwhelmed by an administrative monstrosity. What is certain is that the individual will lose control over his own healthcare decisions, his physical well-being, his survival, since the purpose of Obamacare is to centralize healthcare decisions over all of society. And by the way, this was an essential element of Plato and the Republic, essential element of Thomas Hobbes's Utopia, an essential element of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, and a central element of the Democrat Party for the last 120 years. Now, I haven't even gotten into the individual mandate. You're familiar enough with that, and I don't really have time to revisit it at this time. But listen to what we've just discussed. Obama's central program, everything he said about it was false. And yet look at the picture he painted of Obamacare. Lower costs, same doctors, premium stable. Look what he painted. More people will have access to health care. Pre-existing conditions. Kids who turn 26, all the way up to 26. No caps for any for services. And yet prices won't go up. Absolutely incoherent, absolutely impossible. A disaster. And yet it passed. It passed. So Obama tonight in his State of the Union speech, he's going to talk about the middle class, the little people, the people who are being abused by the system. He's going to say, we don't want to go back. He doesn't tell us back to what, but we don't want to go back. No. He's always looking at the future. And the future for him always involves bigger and bigger government, more and more spending, despite the statistics that I carefully discussed with you. The percentage of the economy that's being devoured by government. The massive debt that's devouring your children's future. The proliferation of agencies and departments and offices and units and boards. So many we don't even know how many there are. the proliferation of regulations that include criminal penalties, so many we don't even know how many they are. But Obama has a new plan. He's got a new paradise that he's going to sell us tonight. All across the board, he's got more ideas, more promises, more fantasies, more abstractions as he advances his goal of a centralized government with all kinds of concentrated power.